Picture this. It's the fall of 2018, and a 26-year-old pregnant postal worker named Kierra Coles just vanishes. Like, completely disappears into thin air from her neighborhood on Chicago's South Side.
Right. And she just leaves her car behind.
Exactly. Her locked car is just sitting there parked on the street. And inside, investigators find her purse, her cell phone, which was, like, tucked very deliberately under a jacket, her packed lunch, her asthma inhaler, and her prenatal vitamins.
And, what makes this case so incredibly baffling isn't a lack of evidence. I mean, usually when someone vanishes, you expect a void, right?
Yeah, like no clues at all.
Exactly. A total absence. But here, investigators were handed this absolute mountain of evidence. The problem is it's deceptive evidence. We're talking about a highly suspicious timeline, physically staged crime scenes, and high-definition surveillance video that was, well, it was seemingly designed to lie to them.
It's so chilling. Yeah, it's been years. So to really analyze the investigative anomalies here, we have to start by understanding the baseline of who Kierra was.
Right, because if we don't know her normal routine, we can't pinpoint exactly when that routine broke down.
Totally. So if you picture a vibrant, really ambitious woman, you're picturing Kierra. Her
Oh,
family fiercely loved her. They actually called her boss lady.
I love that.
Right, because she was just naturally authoritative and liked to be in charge. She loved doing makeup. She was full of life. And in 2018, everything was really falling into place for her.
She had a lot of momentum.
She really did. She had a new apartment on this nice tree-lined street in the Chatham neighborhood. She had bought a brand new car. And after like 3 years of grinding as a part-time seasonal mail sorter, she finally landed her dream job. She became a full-time letter carrier for the United States Postal Service.
And crucially, she was 12 weeks pregnant. She was absolutely thrilled to become a mother.
Yeah, she really was.
And I bring that up because that single detail frames the entire law enforcement response.
Because of the high-risk nature of it.
Exactly. When a pregnant woman disappears, investigators are trained to look immediately for deviations in routine. It raises the threat level instantly.
And Kierra's life went from this picture-perfect upward trajectory to a remarkably complicated personal reality very, very quickly. So let's unpack this ecosystem because we have to look at the people closest to her.
Yeah, the central figure in all the source material outside of Kierra, obviously, is a man named Joshua Simmons. Law enforcement and the media frequently refer to him as the primary person of interest.
Right.
He had been dating Kierra for about 5 or 6 years. He was the father of her unborn child, and this is key, he was also a USPS worker.
But he was carrying a massive secret. He was actually in a long-term relationship with another woman at the same time.
And the details here are just, they almost feel like fiction.
They really do. This other woman was also named Kierra. She was also a USPS worker, and she was also pregnant by him at the exact same time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? So it's not just a love triangle. It's this incredibly tight, closed-circuit ecosystem.
That phrase perfectly encapsulates it. It's a psychological and logistical pressure cooker. Think about it. All 3 of these people work for the exact same massive federal employer.
Yeah, think about the mechanics of that for a second. They are navigating the exact same schedules, the exact same union rules, the same internal employee systems. Plus, there's the constant threat of gossip in a huge mail sorting facility.
It's an absolute powder keg.
Exactly. Now, to be fair, the sources actually conflict a little bit on who knew what.
Right, I saw that too.
Yeah, like some suggest the two Kierras might have known about each other, while others say it was a total secret kept by the boyfriend. But honestly, regardless of who knew, just imagine the immense pressure here for him. The jealousy, the financial motive.
Oh, the threat to his livelihood and his social standing if the whole thing just blew up in his face.
Exactly, and that motive leads us directly into a really terrifying statistical reality.
Yeah. Homicide is a leading cause of death for pregnant women in the United States.
Which is just awful to think about.
It's a grim statistic, but it means that when a pregnant woman goes missing under a high-pressure dynamic like this, the investigative assumption immediately shifts.
They don't assume she just ran off to start over.
No, not at all. You don't assume a voluntary disappearance. The protocol treats it as a high-risk foul play scenario from day one.
Okay, so keeping that breakdown in routine in mind, let's look at Kierra's last known day. Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018.
Right.
The day actually starts with an anomaly. Kierra calls in sick to work, and she had actually called in sick on Monday the 1st as well, but she doesn't stay in bed all day.
No, she goes out shopping for baby supplies with her aunt and a friend.
Right. And then around 7:00 p.m., she calls her mom, Karen Phillips, from the grocery store. And her mom explicitly noted that Kierra sounded incredibly happy. She was talking about buying healthy foods for the baby.
And she mentioned her evening plans, too.
Yeah. She specifically told her mom that her boyfriend, the person of interest, was coming over to her apartment that night.
And surveillance video confirms the first part of that timeline perfectly. We have footage showing Kierra carrying her groceries into her apartment building. That right there is the last completely normal, verifiable moment of her life. Because later that evening, cameras capture Kierra and a person of interest leaving her apartment together. And they drive off in Kierra's car.
And here is where we hit a massive contradiction in the evidence. At 10:43 p.m., surveillance cameras at a 24-hour Walgreens capture Kierra inside. She's in civilian clothes.
And she goes to the ATM.
Right. She goes to the ATM and makes 2 cash withdrawals totaling $400.
That's just strange.
It's incredibly strange. Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Why withdraw $400 at almost 11 o'clock at night if you've already done your grocery shopping and your boyfriend is already hanging out with you?
Yeah, there's nowhere to really spend that kind of cash at that hour.
Exactly. And her mother explicitly stated that Kierra was incredibly frugal and careful with her money. So this was a highly unusual amount of cash for her to pull out.
Which begs the question, was this done under duress? Or, I don't know, was it some sort of payoff?
Right. And that financial anomaly is immediately followed by a physical anomaly.
Yeah, less than an hour later, so just before 11:45 p.m., surveillance cameras capture Kierra's car parking down the street from her apartment.
Okay.
The vehicle stops. But Kierra doesn't get out. Instead, video shows the person of interest exiting the vehicle.
Wait.
But what's fascinating here is how he exits. He gets out from the passenger side door.
No way.
Hey, no one ever exits the driver's side. He just gets out the passenger door, walks to his own car, which was parked nearby, and drives away.
Wait, so if he was the one driving, he slid all the way across the center console just to use the passenger door?
Precisely. And this introduces this huge concept in forensic psychology, physical staging.
Like trying to trick the police.
Exactly. Amateur criminals panic, right? They leave chaotic messes.
Mm-hmm.
But calculated perpetrators attempt to build a diorama. They actively try to manipulate the visual narrative that gets left behind for investigators.
Wow. So by sliding the seat back and climbing over the console,
Whoever was driving was likely trying to avoid the street side camera capturing their face. Or they were trying to make it appear to a casual observer that Kierra had parked the car herself and they were simply the passenger. It shows a highly calculated awareness of the environment.
but by over-engineering that diorama, they left behind this really bizarre fingerprint. It tells investigators they are dealing with someone who is obsessively controlling the environment.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the morning after, Wednesday, October 3rd. This is where the active cover-up accelerates and where we see federal systems actively being manipulated.
Yes, this part is wild.
That morning, someone calls the USPS to report Kierra sick for the day.
The mechanics of that sick call are vital to understand because, calling off sick as a postal worker is not like texting your manager to say you have a fever.
Right.
The sources really emphasize this. It is a complex 5-minute automated process. You have to navigate specific audio menus, punch in specific employee identification numbers, and utilize internal USPS codes.
It's essentially like navigating a secure banking system. You need the PIN, the routing number, and the password. Only an insider, like literally another USPS worker who intimately knew that system could successfully pull that off without raising immediate red flags with human resources.
Right. And that insider knowledge bought the perpetrator a ton of time. While that sick call is occupying the employer and making them think everything is normal, the person of interest is busy dismantling the physical scene.
Because he goes back to the car, right?
Yes. Surveillance shows him returning to the street, getting back into Kierra's parked car, and moving it.
Unbelievable.
Then he goes into her apartment, and he's seen leaving, carrying unknown items, loading them into his own car, and driving off.
Okay, but then the investigation suffers what I can only call a self-inflicted wound. It's the most baffling piece of this entire puzzle.
A video.
Yes, the video. At 11:54 a.m. on that Wednesday, a neighbor's security camera captures a pregnant black woman wearing a full USPS uniform, walking right past Kierra's parked car on the street.
And she's just walking by.
Right. The police obtain this video and they release it to the public and the media, and they explicitly allow everyone to believe this was Kierra Coles walking to work the day after she supposedly vanished.
But when Kierra's mother, Karen, sees this video on the local news, she tells the police instantly, "That is not my daughter."
She knew right away.
Immediately. The height is wrong, the gait is wrong, the walk is totally different, and the police's response. They admit to her that they knew it wasn't Kierra.
I can't even fathom that.
They actually knew it was just another postal worker who lived on the exact same block, who had forgotten something at home, turned around, and walked past the camera. But the police told Kierra's family to keep quiet about the discrepancy. They kept the truth hidden from the public for 2 entire years.
I know you listening are probably asking the exact same question I am right now. Wait, how is it legal or even logical for law enforcement to knowingly release a fake video to the media during an active missing persons case?
It's incredibly frustrating, and it reveals a deeply flawed investigative tactic. Sometimes law enforcement will release ambiguous footage, hoping to stimulate public memory or shake a witness loose.
Like trying to jog someone's memory of that morning.
Right. The logic is that the public will see the USPS uniform, recognize the general time and location, and remember seeing something suspicious from that day.
But human psychology doesn't work that way.
Not at all. The public fixates on the literal image. By weaponizing a completely accidental decoy video, the police inadvertently helped the perpetrator's timeline.
They shifted the entire public timeline of her disappearance by 13 whole hours.
And that is a catastrophic failure for the investigation. People were calling in tips based on a Wednesday afternoon timeline rather than the actual Tuesday night timeline.
Which generated a mountain of leads that went absolutely nowhere.
Exactly. And it allowed the true trail to grow cold right when the critical first 48 hours were ticking away.
Which brings us to the devastating aftermath on Thursday, October 4th. Her mom, Karen Phillips, hasn't heard from Kierra in 2 days. Now, Kierra was a chronic Snapchatter. She was constantly updating her friends and family.
So this silence is deafening.
Totally deafening. So Karen finally forces entry into the apartment, and the apartment is pristine. The groceries Kierra bought on Tuesday, they're put away. The TV is still on, but the car is parked down the block, not in her usual spot.
And when a locksmith finally opens that car, the perpetrator's staging crumbles completely.
What was inside?
Inside the trunk, they find her work coat and her mail cart. Inside the main cabin is her purse. Her cell phone is deliberately hidden under a jacket.
Wow.
And sitting right there is a packed lunch for work, an apple, an orange, and some water, alongside her asthma inhaler and her prenatal vitamins.
Items that a pregnant woman with asthma heading out to do a physically demanding postal route would absolutely never leave behind.
Yeah.
And while the family is standing there panicking about all this, the boyfriend, the person of interest, actually arrives on the scene. Karen asks him for his key to the apartment. And he claims he doesn't have one, even though Kierra explicitly told her mother she had given him a key.
And his behavior just rapidly devolves into contradictory self-preservation. He starts telling the police varying stories.
Why? He changes his tune.
Drastically. First, he claims he didn't see Kierra at all that Tuesday night. Then, when investigators confront him with the reality that they have surveillance video of the two of them together, he pivots. He admits he saw her, but claims they just went to the ATM and he had no idea where she went after that.
And he refuses to help the family pass out flyers. He refuses to join the neighborhood search parties. Eventually, he stops cooperating with the police entirely, retains a lawyer, and moves out of state.
He just packs up and leaves.
Just leaves. And by July 2020, the Chicago Police Department officially suspends the case, claiming they have exhausted all leads.
So I have to ask, what does this all mean? We have a suspect who lies to the victim's mother, lies to the police, flees the state, and is literally caught on camera staging the victim's car and removing items from her home.
And we have the packed lunch rotting in the car.
Yes. Why is there no arrest?
I guess.
Does the legal standard of beyond a reasonable doubt essentially mean no body, no crime in Cook County?
You are hitting on the incredibly frustrating mechanics of the legal system when dealing with circumstantial cases.
It's just so hard to wrap your head around.
It is, because without a body to prove the cause of death, without a confession, or without a primary crime scene covered in biological evidence, proving murder is an incredibly steep uphill battle. Prosecutors have to anticipate the defense.
Right, like what the lawyer will say in court. Exactly. A defense attorney will look at that surveillance footage and say, look, my client was having an affair, he panicked for personal reasons, and he moved a car. Being a deceitful partner who hides a car does not prove you committed a murder.
Because they have to prove not just that a crime happened, but exactly how it happened, like that he specifically pulled the trigger, so to
Right.
speak.
Precisely. And prosecutors in major jurisdictions are extremely hesitant to pull the trigger on a murder charge, using only circumstantial staging evidence because of double jeopardy.
Oh, right.
If they take him to trial with a weak circumstantial case and they lose, they get 0 second chances. Even if they find Kierra's body 10 years from now, they could never try him again.
So they're essentially forced to wait for a smoking gun.
They are.
And while the legal system hits the brakes, the family is left to carry the entire weight of the investigation. Kierra's father, Joseph, literally traveled all the way from Wisconsin to knock on doors and stop cars in the Chicago streets.
And her mother, Karen, has relentlessly petitioned for the FBI to take over the case from the local police.
The family has even pooled their own resources to offer a reward of up to $46,000.
And their agonizing struggle highlights a much broader systemic issue that sources like the documentary Black Girl Missing and the Black and Missing Foundation point out explicitly. We are looking at the systemic underreporting of missing Black women in the United States.
Let's look at the mechanics of that bias for a second, because it's not just an oversight.
No, it's an economic and editorial media model that's often referred to as missing white woman syndrome. In 2020, a third of all missing women and girls reported in the U.S. were Black.
A third.
A third. Yet they receive a mere fraction of the national media coverage compared to their white counterparts. The media apparatus prioritizes certain demographics, assuming that is what the public wants to consume. And when the national media ignores a case, the public pressure on local law enforcement evaporates.
Which forces families like Kierra's to become their own detectives, their own media advocates, and their own PR firms. Karen Phillips has had to fight tooth and nail just to ensure her daughter and her unborn grandchild aren't reduced to a forgotten statistic in a filing cabinet. She has to keep shouting Kierra's name so the world doesn't move on. It is a devastating reality, grieving a child while having to simultaneously battle a system that seems entirely indifferent.
It's heartbreaking. A vibrant, promising life, a brand new career, a baby on the way, all completely erased in a single night. We have a highly suspicious timeline manipulated by insider knowledge of federal systems, a suspect who walked away, and a mother fighting for a grandchild that was never born and a daughter who never came home.
And I want to remind you listening, this is not a closed chapter. As of this summer in 2026, Kierra Coles' case is technically still open. Public pressure and the relentless advocacy of her family are truly the only things keeping the investigation alive right now.
As we wrap up our analysis of this incredibly frustrating investigative landscape, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We live in an era where we place an immense amount of trust in the concept of surveillance. We believe cameras provide signal over noise. We trust them to keep us safe and to give us the absolute truth.
Right.
But look at the evidence in Kierra's case. We have video of her leaving her apartment. We have video of the ATM withdrawal. We have video of the person of interest exiting the passenger side of her car and video of him stripping her apartment.
We even have the high-definition video of the decoy postal worker.
Exactly. We have all the what and the where recorded in stark clarity. But consider this. Did the presence of all those cameras actually help solve the crime? Or did they simply provide a false sense of security for the public while giving a highly calculated perpetrator the exact blueprint they needed to stage a perfect disappearance?